think unfortunately over the course of the last year I feel that too many people have spent too long lamenting the actual result of the referendum as opposed to sitting back and saying, right, this is where we are. How do we find solutions to whatever challenges that we face? How do we find the best way to maximise the opportunities of the decision that has been made? And how do we work together to really get the best out of Brexit for absolutely everybody across the United Kingdom? Well, I think unfortunately the Irish border question is being used to make life very difficult for the Prime Minister and for those who are involved in trying to get the best deal out of the Brexit negotiations. Very many people are actually using the border issue to try to put difficulties in place. The way I would look at it is that hard remainers, I suppose as I would call them, people who just simply don't want us to leave the European Union, they don't want to accept the European referendum result, that really they want to set the parameters for the discussion on a number of limited options. Either firstly, we don't leave at all. Secondly, if we do leave, we effectively are members of the European Union in all but name, and that we stay in the customs union and stay in the single market. Or thirdly, there's a hard Brexit. Now, I think they believe they can set the parameters of that discussion around those three key questions. So therefore they want to, limit the conversation and discussion on Brexit to the two options. Either it doesn't happen or we stay within the customs union and the single market. And I just think it's a very dangerous thing for people to say, look, oh, this is what's going to happen, because at the moment it suits a particular agenda. We have made it clear that nobody on either side of this should be using the threat of violence to justify what type of Brexit that we should have. So I just think everybody needs to be sensible about this, work together, and we can find solutions and find the best deal for the entirety of the United Kingdom. Well, this has to be a situation where the European Union respects the democratic decision of the United Kingdom to leave the European Union. And in that regard, I think that the European Union needs to get into problem-solving mode as much as the United Kingdom does. It can't just be about the United Kingdom having to bend and change and to adapt and amend to try to fit in with the European Union. Much of this is also in the hands of the European Union. They can be pragmatic, they can work on solutions as well. They need to do that. And the reality of it is, I think the Prime Minister was right to not rule out a hard Brexit, because I think that she needs to say very clearly that she is not going to accept a bad Brexit for the United Kingdom. She's not going to accept a bad deal. And I think it's an argument about whether or not a hard Brexit is worse or better than a bad deal. I believe a hard Brexit would be better than a bad deal with the European Union. It should be in the European Union's interest to avoid a hard Brexit. It should be in the Republic of Ireland's interest to avoid a hard Brexit. And from that point of view, there shouldn't be this any kind of tension between those. It shouldn't be a case of anybody sitting back and saying, this is your problem, you sort it out. MPs are there to make sure that there is the best deal on all of those particular issues. We have seen that the European Union have been quite difficult on many issues. We have seen that they have negotiated hard. However, we're very clear that the UK needs to stand up and fight hard back, and to get the best deal out of any of these negotiations and agreements in the phases that we will go through. The DUP, as we did before Christmas in terms of the Phase 1 agreement, we've said, look, we will support the government in this. We think that any decisions need to be with fidelity with the UK referendum result. However, we are not going to sign up to something which is bad for business in the UK, bad for unionism across the UK, bad for Northern Ireland. So we are prepared to take a stand about that. We've made that very clear to the government as well. They're fully aware of our position. But we are supportive of an approach which has fidelity with the UK referendum result, and I firmly believe there are a huge number of options between staying in a customs union and staying in a single market through to a hard Brexit, when we need to start looking at all of those innovative solutions.